You're now listening to Emily Shields Talk with Substance on Hotline. Radio Jamaica, active for the good of our nation.
Thank you, listeners. We're back with you on the hotline, and thank you for joining. Thank you for staying with us here today as we come to you live from the Jamaica Conference Center. We're talking all matters related to the Caribbean Maritime University Industry Conference. It's about managing risks in the maritime industry through the application of engineering solutions. And I begin with closer to home, my friend Archibald Gordon, Director, Marketing and Communications at CMU. How are you, Archie?
I'm well. I'm pretty good this morning.
Good
Thank
to
you
see
so
you.
much.
Good to see you.
Good to see you as well.
The conference center looks good. You have the attendance that you desired here.
Yeah.
2-day conference, yeah?
Yeah, 2-day conference covering engineering. What we're trying to do is essentially to take the message of the Caribbean Maritime University outside the walls of the university. And as you know, that's a challenge for all universities. We have to stake our place in the academic environment, and this is really part of that effort overall.
So you want to expand your academic reach to get students from all different jurisdictions?
Yes, students, but I think sort of in context it's important to understand that before now the university was kind of a sort of dual role university, I would say, looking at academic issues on one hand through our 3 faculties, our center and our School of Graduate Studies, so the Faculty of Marine and Nautical Studies, Engineering and Applied Technology and Shipping and Logistics, as well as the Center for Security, Counterterrorism and Non-Proliferation, which does security related programs and is headed by the former Commissioner Owen Ellington, as well as the School of Graduate Studies. And we also have centers that were really set up to deal with industry. So we have a center that deals with...
You have all of those things there?
All of those things.
All out by CMU, close to the airport?
All out by CMU. So we have a center that does, we like to call it the 3D printing center, but it's a center for digital innovation and advanced manufacturing. A center that is that does engineering equipment. We have a maritime training center, etc. So from that kind of perspective, CMU was both academic on one hand, but also industry related, because the idea was to bring more money into the CMU through selling the business of the CMU and of education and of consultancies and research to members of industry. And on the new path that the current president has sort of embarked, the idea is to focus a lot more, not exclusively, but a lot more on our academic path. And that means, beefing up how we do research, doing much more research, but also taking that research to the wider environment, talking to people in language that they can understand, but also doing research that's relevant to them. So this industry conference is part of that sort of general push to change the direction of the university, to ensure that people understand what we do, because at the end of the day, it's taxpayer dollars. So people want to know what's happening beyond the walls of the university, and that's what this effort is about.
So to take the research to the environment, so is it that it's going to be sort of more field-based learning?
It's field-based. Well, it's a mixture, but a lot of it is about the application of applying what we understand to solve industry problems. And the conference is really one of a series of different things that we've done. So under the tenure of the President Andrew Spencer, we have launched the Port Royal Lecture Series. We have launched the engineering department for a portion of the year, has lectures on engineering things, various engineering topics every week. We also have a presence round table that we're going to be launching. So the idea is really just so that people can understand what we do and understand the relevance of a university to their own lives. Right. So from that kind of perspective, yes, a lot more field-based and practical research.
So you hope to grow the student complement as well with all of this? Absolutely.
It's no secret that a lot of universities, and we're among them, have been seeing a downturn in terms of the number of students coming into the space. Part of that is just what had happened because of the COVID-19 pandemic, and people are sort of re-questioning, as people often do, the role of tertiary education, wondering whether this is the space for them, but also sort of wondering whether a classroom in the classical sense is a space for them. Maybe it's an online classroom rather than a physical classroom. So like everyone else, like all other universities, all other educational institutions, the CMU has to sort of recalibrate from that kind of perspective, and we have to go out and get the students and let them know about the maritime sector, which is a sector that's very lucrative, but a lot of people don't know about it.
Right.
So in that sense, absolutely, yes, also about growing the numbers.
But are you not going to expand online at all? Or you're not having a thrust to expand online?
We are in discussions right now about launching particular courses. Part of the challenge with the CMU, the CMU is that so many of our courses are very practical.
Right.
So if you are in the Faculty of Marine and Nautical Studies, for instance, you're supposed to be going on a ship. If you're in engineering and applied technology, there's an engineering workshop. It's a physical building. You have to come to it. And there's the FESTO Authorized and Certified Training Center, which is a building that has different kinds of engineering equipment. So you have a virtual factory, you have hydraulics equipment, pneumatics equipment, and you have to come there and use the actual equipment. So part of the challenge is trying to figure out how do we change our programs or adjust to the changes that are necessary, the needs of the customer, while ensuring that they get the practical experience, which is going to be necessary in those actual fields.
You mentioned downturn of student population at a number of universities over the pandemic. How bad was yours, and where are you with the uptick in the graph?
Generally speaking, ours was not terrible, so that's really good. We're probably about 15% lower than we were before. But part of the effort now is just trying to go into the streets and teaching people about the maritime sector, so they are aware that this is an option, and also just dealing with the realities of the fact that the environment has changed, not just in terms of the numbers, but also because you have the sixth form pathway program, which means that students are going to be staying in high school longer.
But don't you accommodate students under the sixth form pathway program?
Not at this point.
CMU?
We're in a discussion with the Ministry of Education to ensure that we're part of that program.
Yes, because if you get that, then you have a good cohort of students who need those practical skills.
Absolutely. But at the same time, in the absence of that, we are already out in the streets, forming our own partnerships. So there's a partnership, for instance, at York Castle High School, where you can go and do your first 2 years at York Castle and then sort of matriculate into the CMU. So we understand that whether we're formally part of that program or not, we have to go on the road and sell our programs. So not just in terms of that sort of specific partnership with your castle, but also partnerships that we have in terms of spreading our programs to other places. So you find that it's not just at the campus at Palisadoes Park in East Kingston, but we also have courses at Sam Sharp College, we have at Knox, and we have at Monique. So those partnerships are going to be key in ensuring that wherever people are, we are also there.
Right. And then do you track the number of your graduates who are actually placed in a job in the area in which they've trained at CMU?
Yes, there was a survey done a couple of years ago which said 80% of our graduates actually get jobs in the sector. That is a survey that needs to be revisited. So we need to, update those numbers, and that's one of the efforts that is underway right now. There are also just greater efforts underway to try and figure out how we can reach out to different kinds of audiences. So absolutely.
Good. And then in terms of the jurisdictions, about how many other jurisdictions apart from Jamaica do you have students attending CMU?
I would say probably about 10, not in large numbers right now, probably about 20 to 30 students. Students from as far as China. We had MOUs with different universities. So we had students from China, we had students from several South American countries, at Costa Rica. Most of those students are going to be Caribbean students. So we have students from St. Vincent, a student from Trinidad, students from Bahamas. And part of the effort right now under the new strategic plan launched by the university is to do more of that. So not only, because we understand that there are not a lot of maritime spaces in the Caribbean, so we have to go out there and do the same career fairs that we're doing in Jamaica, across Jamaica, in the Caribbean as well. And you're going to, well, I don't know if Jamaicans will see more of that, but there will be more of that.
When you say maritime spaces, break that down so the young people listening can understand what avenues are touched when we say maritime spaces.
I think the really important thing for people to understand, and I love saying this, I mean, I stole it from, I will admit, from the public relations officer of Carnival Cruise Lines, but he says that it's important for people to understand that a ship is a city on the sea. So every single service that exists on land exists on the sea. So you obviously need someone to drive, you need someone to sail the ship, but you also need someone to clean the ship, someone to engineer the ship. So it's a range of different careers. Even if people don't know the names, they sort of understand them conceptually, because all of those exist in land right now. You need people to clean, you need people to engineer, to ensure that the ship is in working condition, to sail the ship. You need people to feed other people, to cook, absolutely everything. And it's very, very lucrative, because 80% of the volume of goods transported globally is transported by sea. So you're talking about $1 trillion industry. And then Jamaica now is in a great place because of where we are. We're at a sort of major transshipment point between the United States and South America, and right outside the walls of the JCC is the 7th or I think 8th deepest natural harbor in the world. So we're a great space. So there are just really a lot of opportunities. If you talk of, if you think only of seafarers, for instance, so these are the people who would sail the ship, but also the duty engineers, those who would fix the ship, and a range of different kind of careers. Those people, if you're on a ship, you make the money you make. There's no mortgage, you get housing. There's no food to pay for. There are no bills. So that money is your money, and you get to go around the world. Of course, it is a challenging career because you're there for months at a time, but at the same time, it's very, very lucrative from that kind of perspective. If you think about the people in the Faculty of Shipping and Logistics, for instance, so these are people who do logistics, which means the movement of goods and services. So the people in customs are the people that we know, the people in customs, the immigration, the people who work on the wharves, etc. But logistics also means just arranging anything. So as I said once when we did a OB with the hotline team, your producer is a logistician, making sure that I show up on time, that all of the arrangements for this OB are set. But so those graduates go to Main Event, they go to Nestle, they go everywhere.
Right.
So it's a really big opportunity.
My producer wants to make sure I take a time break now. So when we come back, you'll tell me if there's anything else you want to tell me about the academic growth of CMU. This is a hotline.
If you've seen or heard any improper conduct at your workplace, make a report by calling 876-968-6227. The time by the Integrity Commission is
9:45.
We interrupt this program to bring you the university that you've been looking for. The Caribbean Maritime University, where we redefine maritime excellence through innovation and technology. We cater to those who dare to dream bigger and do more than what is average. Apply now at www.cmu.edu.gm and let's get on board together.
Listeners, we're back with you on the hotline. We're wrapping up a conversation with Archibald Gordon, who comes to me this time in the capacity Director, Marketing and Communications at the Caribbean Maritime University. He's talking about the academic growth of the university. You heard what maritime entails and a number of other matters. Archie, anything else you want to tell me that you think the people need to know, but they may have heard, but they always forget?
Yeah, I mean, from our perspective, we've been on the road, but we need the numbers. We need more people to know about the sector, and we want them to come to the university. So we want them to know about the entry requirements of the different kind of faculties, because of the nature of some of the degree programs, those requirements, you need to get ready for those requirements. You need to select the correct subjects, I would say, earlier on. So if you're in the Faculty of Shipping and Logistics, that's fine, because that's 5 CXCs with math and English. But if you're doing the Faculty of Engineering, you need 5 CXCs, including 2 technical subjects.
Oh.
Yes. So you'd have had to pick those in third form or ninth grade.
And those technical subjects are like what?
That could be like technical drawing,
TD,
yes, anything like that, any kind of technical subject like that. And for and for marine and nautical studies, you need 5 6s, including 2 science subjects. So bio, chemistry, any of the range of science subjects as well. Physics.
I see you didn't do the science subjects at school.
I only did bio and chem, so it's just like physics. I never remember.
There's geography and math is a science.
Yes. Oh yes.
Those were all my subjects for CXC, and then I branched off elsewhere. So I'm more than remotely familiar. I know. Physics is one of them. Geography, yes. Yeah. So what other course there? Just those 3 areas, and so the minimum for each is 5 CXCs. But whether math and English must be included. Math and English must be included for all of them?
All of them.
Okay.
Yeah, all of them. You have to do math and English.
So for the maritime, you need to have minimum 5.
Yes. 2
of which must be math and English, and 2 of which must be 2 science subjects.
That's true.
Okay. So the other one, you can have accounts, but you'd need maybe geography, biology, math, English, or
Absolutely.
any sort of any compote you want to put together. Good. And are the tuition fees prohibitive?
I would not say they are prohibitive. Well, how do I put that? Or are the tuition fees prohibitive? I mean, the fact is, tertiary education is for a lot of people expensive, and we understand that. What I would say is that so our tuition fees compared to the other universities are about in line, particularly if you want to do like shipping and logistics, if you want to do engineering and applied technology, or if you want to do marine and nautical studies, you're going to be paying more than you pay for shipping and logistics. So you're talking about anywhere in between 500,000 to 800,000 for shipping and logistics, and if you're talking about the other engineering and marine and nautical studies, you're talking about probably 600,000 to 800,000. What I would say is a couple of different things. One is that there are a lot of scholarships. There are a lot of opportunities. For instance, just in engineering and applied technology, there are 100 scholarships for students. And I don't know that there were 20 students that applied for them. They're provided by the Ministry of Education, and they are fully sponsored.
Wow.
And this is part of the ministry's thrust to encourage students to participate in STEM areas, of course. So those are fully sponsored, and those are just some of the scholarship opportunities available. We have the American Caribbean Maritime Foundation, for instance, one of our key partners out of the United States, and they provide both scholarships as well as bursaries. So that's money you don't have to pay back, grants. There is some challenge getting students to apply for them, because I think very often students think they won't get them.
Yeah.
So, part of what we have to do as marketing is to get out in the space. So we're out in the space. You can find them on our social media pages. You can find them on cmu.edu.jm. If you write to us, info@cmu.edu.jm, we will send them to you. But we routinely send them out to students. And sometimes we also call students, to be honest with you.
Look at this.
Yeah, we call students because it's revenue for us. So if we have students who are coming to the university, we want them to come. So we also assemble lists, and we'll send it out. If we know, for instance, that there are grants and they require students of a certain grade point average, we will go through our student record system, see which students would apply, and we email them, and sometimes we will hand you a form.
Prompt them. That's
we'll
excellent.
hand you a form.
So literal tuition giving away, and it's undersubscribed, or the application is
yes.
low.
And the other thing as well is to remember how much money you will make as well. So if you are in the marine and nautical studies in faculty, in terms of the return on investment, that is huge. There's also systems to assist students. We have an earn and learn program on campus where you can work a certain number of hours, you gain valuable experience, and we also have an industry awareness program. So you asked about how many graduates are actually employed. Part of the reason they're employed is that because you have to go and do an internship. You have to go and do an internship.
Excellent.
So you get an opportunity to be in the space and to create a network. So I understand that overall, it is a challenge for students, but I want people to understand the long-term value proposition. University graduates are better off than non-university graduates. That's not me saying so. That's that's what the data says.
The data, that's right. Yes. I love the availability of those scholarships. Thank you so much, Archibald Gordon. All the best to you and the team over the today and tomorrow, next 2 days for this conference here.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Have a great day. Director of Marketing and Communications at the CMU, Archibald Gordon. Thank you, listeners. We're back with you on the hotline. We are at the Jamaica Conference Center. We're here for this conference, which takes place over 2 days. We're here today. It's for the Caribbean Maritime University. It's an industry conference. It's about managing risks in the maritime industry through the application of engineering solutions. You heard from Archibald Gordon earlier on, and I'm so happy to have joining me now 2 people. Dr. Racquel Wright, who is Head of Department of Applied Technology. How are you, Dr. Wright?
I'm doing well. Thanks for asking.
Good to see you. And Dr. Kahuina Miller, Head of Department Engineering, CMU. Dr. Miller, how are you?
I'm doing well.
Very, very good to have you. Yeah, so where do we start then, Dr. Wright? What do you want to tell me about applied technology? What is it?
Well, when we think about applied technology, we know that we go to school, we do different science subjects, and we know that STEM is a very interesting point, and this is what the Ministry of Education is driving. Indeed, this is what is being driven in the world.
Tell us what STEM is again.
So STEM stands for science, technology, engineering, and math. Some people say STEM and include medicine in there as well. Yes. But essentially we're thinking about the different natural and pure sciences. However, when we think about sciences, we might think of them in an abstract way.
Right.
So we think math, what will I do with math in the future? I am just learning arithmetic and algebra. However, when we think of engineering, we are applying these sciences. Engineering looks at the design, the application of these sciences in practical ways. So when we think about building structures, we think about creating biomedical products like prosthetics, etc. We think about artificial intelligence like ChatGPT and all these things. All of these have aspects of engineering. So we might be thinking that these things are abstract, I will never use them. But when we look at it through an engineering perspective, we can apply it to our everyday lives.
So you're applying the technology that you learn to enhancing lives.
Exactly.
Or sometimes make life worse. But in it, Dr. Miller, what some AI things can do right now, the possibilities are endless, dangerously endless too, isn't it?
Yes, most definitely.
And for you, for engineering.
Yeah. And everything depends on how you use it. AI is a very effective tool and in this data age.
Yeah.
So AI can be used to enhance society, enhance productivity, improve as it relates to our education system. So in regards to even the shipping industry, the maritime sector is 80% in trade. Global trade.
Yes.
So we look at AI technology and information communication system to enable less collision in terms of ship, improving port productivity. Many authors have shared the view that there's a strong correlation between economic growth and the maritime industry. Jamaica is surrounded by water, and so we're strategically placed, and therefore we see where artificial intelligence can help us to enhance our productivity.
Well, as you said, I was going out, I had to go to the airport early, a couple of days ago. When I looked on the Palisados there on the left and right, there were 8 vessels on one side.
Yes.
And about 10 or 12 on the next side. I'm saying business are gone. I didn't realize that we had so many vessels in port at, the same time.
Yes.
Or heading out.
And Jamaica is the 8th busiest port within the region. It was in In 2000, it was the second busiest port. And we see where if we don't improve on our infrastructure, we could decline. So we're moving from the second busiest port in the region to the 8th. And therefore, we need technology in order to enhance our...
From the second to the 8th, so the second is lower? Or
it's Panama is number 1, as you may know, because it's where the Panama Canal is.
Right.
But Jamaica was second in 2000.
Wow.
And now we're 8th.
So we've really lost some
we
value.
lost ground.
Exactly.
So we see where infrastructure in tandem with artificial intelligence in terms of vessels, tracking systems, GPS, maritime traffic transportation systems. Once we improve on these areas, ships will basically offload their goods at a shorter time, will be more efficient, and we will attract more investors and liners to our ports.
So this comes squarely back to you then, Dr. Wright, about applying technology for greater efficiency, particularly at our port, yeah?
Yes.
So tell me what you want us to hear from your presentation today. Take me through the range of things you want the listeners to hear.
Well, there are several things that we can use to improve our efficiency. Now, Dr. Miller actually did a great study on port infrastructure and how to enhance it. He spoke about different shipping technologies, the use of artificial intelligence, and just making sure that our ports are just more efficient overall. How we arrange our ports, how we ensure that we manage the removal, so additional manufacturing type technologies, so better cranes and things like that are more efficient, and just how we arrange it and how quickly we offload.
Yes.
So improving that infrastructure actually makes a great difference. And because we haven't been doing that much, we have actually fallen, as Dr. Miller said, because other places are improving.
That's right. So
and
what was the date of your study, Dr. Miller?
It was in 2022.
And did you cost it out?
Cost?
Yeah, did you put a cost to the
there was
upgrading
not cost. What happened is that we did mathematical modeling to determine, we analyzed all the ports within the region. So it includes Latin America and the Caribbean region.
Oh, by way of comparison.
Yes, and we look at the productivity of the ports. And we see where ports that invest in terms of added value service, the logistic hubs, these ports attract more, as we call, container throughput and transshipment volumes. And we see where Jamaica has been declining.
Right.
It has declined. Even our neighbors, Dominican Republic, is ahead of us in many ways.
See? So, okay, what we have now, a vessel comes in.
Yes.
And there are several, what do you call them? Those barrels, those thingies on them.
The containers.
The containers on them. Is it that we have the crane that goes out? Tell me what obtains in other territories versus what obtains in Jamaica, such that we've lost efficiency, for example, with the cranes.
There are many factors that determine a port productivity. We look at the time the ship stays at the port. That's, time is money. And we look at the ability for us to have advanced technology to unload the ship, the containers, and then distribute it within the supply chain efficiently. And so we see where most countries have an intermodal connectivity between the railway system, the highways, and the airport system. And so in order for Jamaica to grow, we need to invest in these components that facilitate intermodal connectivity in a smooth transition. And so other ports have invested in that. And so Jamaica lag. Once you lag, then you will stay behind.
Wow.
And so that is one of the main reasons that has contributed to it.
But from your study was done for the purposes of what? The CMU or for some ministry?
It was done from the university. I attended the University of Tokyo.
Okay.
So I did an assessment of ports within the region.
But is there any way, did it ever get up to the policymakers so they could see?
No, not. That's why we have this international
that is needed.
Conference, exactly.
Yes.
Because I can imagine. So, based on your model for this intermodal thing, and every time I say intermodal, I remember Mike Henry.
Yes.
He's talking about multimodal. So you need a connection between the airport.
Railway and the airport.
Right. So we don't really have the railway yet.
Yeah.
But whatever other means of road transportation we have. So you can tap, for example, the offloading of a vessel with a particular flight departing based on some other port of destination for the traveler.
Infrastructural support. And the logistics performance index in Jamaica is trending down.
That's a shame.
And if we don't look at, we don't have oil as Trinidad, but we are surrounded by waters.
Mm-hmm.
And so we have to capitalize on what we have. And therefore, it means that instead of using the railway system as tourism, we can use it as a way of interconnecting the ports with the railway, with the airport system, in order to fully connect to the complete intermodal connectivity.
So that's port infrastructure enhancement. That's the area you think we need to do more in. What else now with the applied technology, Dr. Wright, you think we need to focus on now?
Well, as you know, sustainability is very important. So we have to think about how we can ensure that we maintain our environment while still improving our industry capabilities. So there are a variety of different technologies that are around. There are different things such as liquefied natural gas and other, greener, technologies, biofuel, etc. And this is how we bring in biotechnology. So there are projects which are looking in to see how, we can use sargassum, which is something that is piling,
take it off of the sea and we'll use it.
We can use it for biofuel and things like that. And, just trying to improve the way, as Dr. Miller said, to be more efficient in our technologies without harming the environment. Because, again, we are an island. We are very dependent on marine life for fishing, for our seas, etc. So it's very important for us to continue in that.
Preserve it.
Trend. Conservative.
Yeah, you touched on AI as well, Dr. Miller. Tell me some more about how we can have improved navigation and communication systems using AI. I mean, it's so funny. Back in the days, they used to have this map, certainly in the UK, called A to Z. Nobody traveled without an A to Z. And you would be sitting in the passenger seat, and you'd have this massive map that you open up to give directions. And it was such an art to read it. I imagine we couldn't qualify, for example, to the maritime course without having geography, which assisted in reading the A to Z. And I thought it was something brilliant. But we moved to different areas where you have all sorts of things now. So you give somebody your address and they turn up at your yard because somebody has applied the technology to create the sort of GPS and now Google Maps and whatever else. Are we using that to the benefit of the maritime industry sufficiently, Dr. Miller? And if not, where are the gaps to be plugged?
To be honest with you, technology is a part of life, and the AI system was always integrated within the industry. Now it has evolved in such a way that it's constantly improving. Technology isn't stagnant, so therefore we look at aspects of, for instance, the ships nowadays, in order to reduce collisions, are using automatic identification system, vessel tracking services, even software that deals with the maritime management systems. These integrate with AI in order to reduce collision and therefore protecting our environment. And so the gaps that we have is that in Jamaica we have to improve our navigation and communication system. Very important.
Right. So we have somebody. What's the name of the entity doing the apps? God, he's going to kill me. He's doing such a good job. He actually developed the app during the COVID period.
Yes.
For the return to Jamaica, plus a number of other things, and branching to the Caribbean. Dushat Savadia. And he has this whole training of, whatever else. So that's sort of the concept you're actually hoping we can engage some more, right, Dr. Miller? Anything else you want the people to know that they've not yet heard before? The most important thing you want them to take away from this interview with you and Dr. Wright.
Thank you very much. The maritime industry is a $1 trillion industry in which over 80% of goods are carried by sea.
US dollar. Trillion
US dollars. And so we see where if the government, based on their strategic plan, develop infrastructure to support the maritime industry, we see where Jamaica will highly be benefited from it. So at the Caribbean Maritime University, we are looking in the direction of progress in terms of using artificial intelligence within our course, mechatronics, and industrial system. These are geared towards national building, productivity, training our youths to be productive for the future. And so we look at technology is always evolving, and therefore we are evolving with technology. And so that's what I want to say.
All right, great. Thank you. Dr. Wright, anything else from you, or ditto?
I would say ditto. Just a reminder that the industry conference is today and tomorrow. I would like to invite you to tune in. I believe it's streaming on the CMU website or one of our social platforms. Dr. Kahuina is actually presenting later today on hydrogen as an alternative fuel. So so quite interesting stuff.
Hydrogen.
Yes, hydrogen.
As an alternative to what?
To what we're using now?
And,
to heavy fuel?
Yes, to cut down our fuel prices.
Yes.
Jamaica is actually the 19 highest utility rates in the world.
So you want to take out the edge out of water?
Yes, definitely. Yes. And we're surrounded by the sea. So we see how we can use renewable energy to extract it from our seas and use it as fuel. I call it the green oil of this 21st century.
So why you didn't talk to me about this here?
Well,
you needed some preps into your presentation.
Yes.
That's fascinating. You can come and listen to that. Yes.
Oh.
You can invite him to come another time.
So the two molecules of hydrogen you'll pluck from the water?
You separate the hydrogen and the oxygen.
By what technology?
By electrolysis.
Which is a technique you would learn in chemistry. So again, the application of our sciences.
I'm fascinated.
Yes.
Monique will take your number and I'll call you because I want to have an interview with you on that after your presentation. Perhaps one day, maybe tomorrow or so on the hotline. Fascinating.
Yes.
Thank you both. All the best to you,
Thanks
Dr. Kahuina Miller from Engineering.
Much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Racquel Wright.
Pleasure
all the best to you, Head Applied Technology. They are both from the Faculty of Engineering and Applied Technology. And thank you. We're going to have some information on the conference now when we will join Dr. Evette Smith Johnson, who is the conference co-chair and Director of Graduate Studies and Research at the CMU, and Professor Ibrahim Ajagunna, who is also a conference co-chair, and he is Deputy President of the Caribbean Maritime University. We're going to join them in what a fascinating thing. I don't understand how Dr. Miller didn't tell me about this. My interest is so piqued. I think I did the sciences for a reason. Because little things like those, I mean, there are so many molecules of stuff floating around in the atmosphere, listeners. So many. So if you can find a way to separate them into their constituent parts and then to turn them into energy or a source of energy, that's just brilliant. Professor, how are you?
I'm having a wonderful day.
Good to see you. And Doctor, how are you?
I am good, thank you, Mrs. Shields.
Yes, first I'm talking with, on radio, the Deputy President of the CMU and Conference Co-Chair. Remind me how long now you've been Deputy President at CMU?
Since we became a university, which is 2017.
I don't think I've interviewed you before.
No, this will be the first time.
Yes, because when I actually had a broadcast at Woolmer's some time ago, and I know I spoke to the president, Timothy Corley. Well, no, I don't think. What's your president? Who is your president again?
Andrew Spencer.
Andrew Spencer. Yes, I spoke with your president, but not you at the time. So
No.
it's good to see you now.
It's my pleasure.
Right. Dr. Evette Smith, Conference Co-Chair, Director of Graduate Studies and Research. Tell me about the conference. What is it you are wishing to place before the people of Jamaica and the world, those who are joining online? What do you want to tell them about CMU that you think they desperately need to hear?
Thank you, Mrs. Shields, for the question. First, the conference is strategically placed right on World Maritime Day. We're closing out Maritime Awareness Week, which is a global space where we mark maritime activities across the globe. And so we put conference at World Maritime Day because we want to say to Jamaicans that the greatest space that we have for preserving viability as a nation and for commerce and industry is, as a colleague used to say, is not the land, but it's the ocean that surrounds us. We bring in everything, almost everything that we use, and it's a great employment space for nationals, not only in Jamaica and the region, but we export our students that become workforce, people in the workforce, to the other spaces. So we want to say celebrate the ocean. We want to say that much of the solutions that we find are resident in the maritime space. Be educated about it and make a choice about your own career or even a career change, because much of what we will embark on as solutions for employment, they will be developed around the maritime and allied spaces in the future.
Right. So based on what's planned here for the conference, Professor Ajagunna, tell me how your conference lineup will put forward to the people what Dr. Evette Smith-Johnson says you hope to do that.
Thank you very much. The theme of this year's conference is managing risks in the maritime industry through the application of engineering solutions. If we look at the Caribbean, for example, our economy is tourism dependent. And if we say tourism dependent, we're talking about the movement of people, the movement of cargo, and 80% of our cargo comes through the sea. And if we look at the industry itself, as my colleague has just indicated, approximately 90% of the activities are supported by engineering activities. To get a vessel from one point to the other, we need navigators, we need engineers on board to manage the different processes. And not only that, on the shore side of maritime is equally engineering dependent. How do we move cargo from the vessel to land? How do we move cargo from land on a chassis truck? And how do we move truck from one location to the other?
Yes.
So you find that every aspect of our activity is engineering dependent. And you would have understood that over the last few years we'll be talking about STEM.
Yes.
Yes, which is very, very critical today. Yeah. It is no longer a localized discussion. It is a global discussion. And in Jamaica, we say that probably we produce maybe less than 5% of engineers in this country. And this is where CMU become very, very important and significant in the development of Jamaica's economy through the theme of our conference this year.
Right, but so the engineers you produce, which is the E in STEM, are these engineers specifically for working on ships or for other areas in which engineers work?
We cater to almost every aspect of every economic activity.
Okay.
The shipping side is just a small part of it.
Okay.
As if you had listened to our president spoke this morning, he spoke about us being the center of simulators in the whole Caribbean. This is STEM. He spoke about the various engineering programs that we have at the university. He also spoke about our being the largest festo. Festo means, let me just put it in context. It's an engineering company in Europe. Siemens, to be specific, that created this particular type of technologies that we are using here. At one time, I think around 2018, 2019, we were the largest in the world. That center is the largest in the world, but we cannot claim that now because we don't have statistics of others. And we have mechatronics, robotics, artificial intelligence, and artificial intelligence is dominating discussions around now. In fact, sometimes I saw some people say, the car packers, we do not want artificial intelligence. But this is something that has been with us for a very long time.
Let me go to a break and come back with both of you. This is the hotline.
It's 10:45 a.m. Warm your day with porridge from Mother's. Hominy corn or peanut porridge. Mother's makes all day delicious.
We interrupt this program to bring you the university that you've been looking for. The Caribbean Maritime University, where we redefine maritime excellence through innovation and technology. We cater to those who dare to dream bigger and do more than what is average. Apply now at www.cmu.edu.gm and let's get on board together.
In one of the handouts here at the conference, Caribbean Maritime University Industry Conference 2023, the theme Professor told you about a moment ago, and this conference is over 2 days. They give a background, and it says in 2015, all UN member states adopted the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. The agenda is intended to provide a shared blueprint for peace and prosperity for people and the planet. There are 17 sustainable development goals which intersect all spheres of human life. One ubiquitous trend that connects the goals and can shape outcomes is engineering. Engineering is the application of innovations to real-world solutions to improve quality of life. When engineering is applied to the maritime industry for risk analysis and risk mitigation, it is an illimitable platform for promoting the sustained viability of the industry. The possibilities for sustainability of maritime sector offered by engineering continue to expand daily. And that is the backdrop against which the CMU has created this platform for the exchange of ideas, opinion, and the research. And all of that is being published to the world on their website, and we're getting an insight into some of that in these interviews we're now doing on the hotline. Fascinating. So, Dr. Evette Smith-Johnston, I was hearing the Prime Minister speak at the opening of the highway leg there in Clarendon. And I was shocked when he said, I think it was 64 engineers that were used on the project, only 11 from Jamaica. And that's not because they didn't desire more. It is because they never had more than 11 with the competencies they require. It's that dire for us at the moment with engineering, yeah?
It is.
Yeah. So tell me whatever, based on all of that, the overview of what you're doing, and women in the maritime sector, how many are there? Give me all of those details.
Well, it is interesting that we are cutting to women because I have a very, very vested interest in that space. There is an organization that CMU incubates in part. It's called the Women in Maritime Association of the Caribbean. The Women in Maritime Association of the Caribbean is one of 8, as we call them, WIMAs across the globe, Women in Maritime Association, sponsored under the auspices of the International Maritime Organization. The IMO set up the WIMAs in areas where women are underserved and underrepresented.
Yes.
And so they started in Africa. You know, we have the Francophone spaces and the Anglophone spaces. And I think they went to the Pacific region, and we have the Arab region. And in 2015, they incorporated the Caribbean space. And so it is the Women in Maritime Association, and then a region puts their identifying letter where. So PAC-WIMA is Pacific, and Arab space is AWIMA. But for us in the Caribbean, we decided to put our big C at the back, Women in Maritime Association of the Caribbean. Women are underserved in our area, and that's why the IMO was challenged to look at what we have in the region. Underserved in seafaring, because it's predominantly a man's world. And underserved in engineering, because even though the girls are bright and sparkling in secondary and primary school, somehow the ones who make it to complete degrees in engineering are not that many. So Women in Maritime Association is not a feminist organization. We are not asking to be the one. We're asking to be at the table. And so, as you mentioned, the sustainable development goals, Mrs. Shield, goal 5 is gender equality. And that's what we hug up around the WIMA. And we say that wherever they make it so that there is a ratio and women are represented in that number. It may well be equity that we're calling for and not equality per se.
Right.
So that we can get the accoutrements that a girl needs to do as well. So when we went to Antigua for a meeting, we found that a young lady there, a marine pilot in training, and I tell her I'll call her name everywhere, Miss Lanice George, had just docked a huge cruise ship and it made front pages of their paper. But she's our graduate.
Oh.
She's a graduate of the Caribbean Maritime University. She's a seafarer. On the other side of it is marine engineering. And so we encourage the women to get on board for training. The university ensures that there are spaces where they can have that. They must be at sea for 12 months before they can go for the official license. And so we have to find the training berths to they get their sea time. And on the other side, on the land-based side, the specific, we have a number of programs in the engineering space, but our flagship is the bachelor degree in industrial systems ops and maintenance. And what we found is that engineers who went to sea would come back and ply their craft on land. And so we just formalized the curriculum to make it a land-based offering. And in that program, we have a number of stellar women who have graduated. One will be presented in the program today, Miss Kishana Bell. And they get into power production and those places, and they're doing excellently.
Right.
And so we're trying to flatten the curve where gender representation is concerned.
Right.
Where women are in there. They get scholarships from places like the American Caribbean Maritime Foundation. So we try in our own way to ensure that there is some, not just incentive, but some kind of help for them. We are a school that makes profit, you know, but we put programs around them. And one of the programs we're putting around our ladies in engineering and across the university is today we are going to launch the CMU student chapter of the Women in Maritime Association of the Caribbean. We're seeking from the larger body to have mentorship, to have them link with an industry woman who is powerful and has reach, and to incubate a space where women can walk off into the industry knowing that they are not alone. The Women in Maritime Association Caribbean brings its 6th annual AGM and conference to Jamaica next week. And those 10 girls who are the pioneering members of the student chapter will be there to network and to get their aunties to know them by name and to walk them into the industry. And we hope that they too will turn around and lengthen that chain.
How do they balance family life with being seafarers? Isn't that the great problem? Even now, people seem to think that it's okay for the men to be out there. But the women who are naturally nurturers, we're just hormonally completely different from men. And at some point in time, especially if we have children or we intend to, we need to be in a space that accommodates that. Are the ships going to be having family-oriented sort of work set up to allow for that? Yeah, Prof. Yes, Prof.
The industry is an interesting industry, but yes. Prof, probably you'll have a better answer than I have.
It's a very, very emerging industry.
Emerging.
And like my colleague said, engineering is engineering, anywhere you take it. And even though we say we prepare them for sea, they still have the capability to work on land.
Yeah.
Just like my colleague said earlier on, at the initial stage of the institute, graduates from the marine program, when they go to sea and come back, you find that they are employed by JPS, the Water Commission, and other manufacturing companies. And that is what actually led the institute to develop the Addison program, Associates of Applied Science in Industrial System and Maintenance, which we have even upgraded up to a master's degree now. So opportunity abounds for the female when they choose to exit from the sea. And unlike for the men, I don't think sea is for women for their entire lifetime, unless when they get to a particular hierarchy.
Just like the men.
Yes, just like the men. If you get to a particular hierarchy, maybe you become a captain or the chief engineer on the board, the vessel will provide for you and your family.
Right.
But at the officers level and cadet level, that provision
so
is
there's
not
no scope for little family
He
center.
said emerging though, Mrs. Shields, because there's advocacy through organizations like the Women in Maritime Association.
Yes.
Also, the International Maritime Organization legislates some things. So there are some emerging things. So gender neutral is emerging, but on board vessel we have spaces where women can be treated for health matters, etc. And those things have come out of a robust advocacy, a global space. And some ship owners and companies may be behind, but generally speaking, women are catered to, and their safety and mental health is something that is being examined, and solutions are emerging. So we note that.
I'd love to hear where it goes, because I think the balance.
And it has always been problematic to place women or to place the female on vessels. And that is why I said earlier on that that sector of the industry is emerging, because it is changing drastically. Now we have, in fact, almost equal number of men and women on the program.
Well, we just want to find out whether those women have families.
Yes, they do.
Okay.
Yes, they do.
All right. I've just got a minute to go. Prof, let me begin with you. What do you want the people to know that they haven't heard?
Well, we develop our curriculum from the industry perspective, and that is why we bring the industry to come and speak to us here. So what we're going to learn from the industry today will help us to reshape our curriculum, to remodify our curriculum, to re-engineer our curriculum so that we can meet the needs of the industry.
All right, great. Thank you. Dr. Smith-Johnson, what you want to tell us finally?
I want to say that we offer courses of training up to the graduate level, and I want women to rethink the space, because sometimes, Mrs. Shields, the best man for the job is a woman.
Whoa, man.
So don't be afraid of it.
Thank you. Dr. Evette Smith-Johnson, though we know that conference co-chair and Director Graduate Studies and Research at CMU, Professor Ibrahim Ajagunna, conference co-chair, Deputy President at CMU. Thank you both. All the best to you over the today and tomorrow, next 2 days. Thank you. Thank you, listeners. We're back with you on the hotline. I'm joining now Dr. Delroy Chevers, Senior Lecturer of Logistics and Supply Chain Management, CMU. He specializes in advancing information systems and operation management. How are you, Dr. Chevers?
I'm doing great.
Right.
Thank you.
Good. Tell me about the importance of logistics in the global market. I mean, we heard about this, I think, when Tony Hilton was the industry minister. We heard a lot about logistics, the logistics hub, and the importance of it. We've seen the continuation of some of it, but I'm shocked to learn that we've dropped from second place down to 8th in the region, I think, in terms of the logistics market, based on what Dr. Miller told me. So tell me the importance of logistics in the global market.
All right. Thank you for inviting me, Emily, and welcome to your listeners. The first thing I'd like to share with you is, what is logistics? It's good for us to put things in context. So logistics is not just the movement of goods from raw material to the customer, the consumer. It is really the efficient movement of goods from the raw material stage all the way through to in process, and then also to when it item reaches the finished goods, when it reaches the consumer for consumption or for use. And so in logistics, it's a lot about speed and price. It's about getting the commodity to the customer at the right price, at the lowest price, and getting it as fast as possible. In logistics, the key, the most important, is the customer, the consumer, and getting the items to the consumer. So it's in our interest as a firm, as an entity producing a product or whatever, to try and get that commodity, to try and drive our costs as low as possible, so that we can get that commodity to the consumer at the lowest price. And that is what logistics is. It's the transportation, the movement of goods from A to B, but really from the beginning of the process all the way through until it reaches the consumer.
So the consumer doesn't care and shouldn't care that you have to source raw materials in China, which needs to get to Jamaica. They just want to get it at a good price and in good time.
And that is why, and you're so right, and that's why a number of firms, what they do, they try and source their parts all over the world, because the firm itself now wants to be competitive.
Yes.
You want to have a competitive advantage over your competitor, but the consumer isn't concerned about all of those internal issues. All they want is to get the item at a good price, at good quality, and when they need it. That is what is important.
And so you at CMU, your interest now is in making all of that happen.
Yes.
The speed.
Right. We talk to our students about the different concepts within logistics. For instance, if you're doing marketing, we talk about the 4 P's of marketing: product, price, place, promotion. If you're doing operations, we talk about the 5 M's. You must have money, machine, material, method to go into operation. When we're doing logistics now, we talk about the 7 R's.
7?
Yes.
7.
the right product, the right customer, the right time, the right quality, the right condition. If you order a cake, you want the cake to be of the right quality, right? If you order brown sugar to make the cake, you don't want granulated sugar. So when we talk about logistics, it's all about 7 R's. And
7 R's.
The right price, the right quality, the right condition, the right customer.
Yeah.
So we talk to students about some of these concepts, and then how do we achieve some of these concepts here.
Yeah. And do you think within the scope of what the CMU now has, that you have the right model to have the students learn those things?
Yes. Our program is a 4-year program, a 2+2 program. And so it's a building block approach to the concept of logistics and logistics management. And we take an applied approach, as you can see at the conference. The conference is an industrial conference. So in our teachings, we take an applied approach. Our students go on field trips, etc., to get the kind of exposure that is so required, so they can apply the concepts. Yeah.
Right. So at the end of the 4 years, what is it they get? A bachelor's in something?
Yes, at the end of the 4 years, they get a bachelor, but it's a 2+2 program.
Yes,
so at the end of 2 years, at the end of 2 years, they get a diploma, and you can exit the program after 2 years.
Yes.
But if you continue to 4 years, you get a bachelor degree.
Right, and you can get the diploma, take a break, and then come back to complete the other 2.
Yes, you can also do that as well, and some students do that.
Right. And the global marketplace for logistics, is that an expanding space?
Yes. As we said before earlier, you want to get the item at the right price. That's the firm, so that you can sell the commodity to the customer, the consumer, at a lower price. And so in your search now for the raw materials that you need, we go all over the world to get the item at the lowest possible price. Because remember now, we as a firm want our operation to be as efficient. We would like our operation to be more efficient than the competition, so that we are in a better position to pass on a lower price to the consumer. As a matter of fact, some companies even do what we call backward integrate, forward integrate, or vertical integrate. For instance, I give you an example. Red Stripe, for their Red Stripe, they backward integrate and start to produce their own cassava. So that's a strategic move by Red Stripe to start produce their own cassava, so that in the end your operation cost can be a little lower. So these are some of the strategic moves that firm embark on, so you can pass on the commodity to the consumer at a lower price.
Give me an example of forward integrate then.
All right, forward integration. I'm wondering if I can be a bit personal. So you and I are competitors. We're in the same line of business.
Yes.
Right. But your husband is the only source to purchase egg. We're in the cake baking business, so on sugar, flour, and egg.
Yeah.
But your husband is the only supplier of egg. You have to buy egg from your husband for your operation. I will also have to buy egg from your husband for my operation. But your husband can not might sell me the egg at a higher price. So it is in my interest now. I'm explaining backward and then I'm going to explain forward. So it is in my interest to maybe go into farming and start produce my own, my chicken and produce my own eggs, so that now I can say to your husband, bye-bye.
Right.
That's backward.
Yes.
Forward now is if I ask an entity to do my marketing and distribution.
Yes.
Right? They might not take all my products in all the parishes in this country, and even if they take it in all the parishes, they might put my item at the back of the shelf. So it is in my interest now to do my own marketing and distribution. Then I am in control.
So you still take the egg from my husband, which he is selling you at a higher price, but you try and get your distribution points to be greater. So you end up selling more because you have a larger market. So you may end up selling more than me, even though I'm buying the eggs cheaper because my husband is.
Yes. And so these are some strategic moves that firm embark on. But why do they embark on those strategies? To drive their operation costs down.
Yes.
And then ultimately now you should be able to be in a position to pass on a lower price, ask a lower price for your commodity to the consumer. So these are some of the things that we teach, and these are some of the concepts that the students are exposed to.
These are some of the concepts in your advancing information systems and operations management?
Yes.
That's brilliant.
Right. All right. If you look at logistics, remember logistics is you want to move the items as fast as possible. So items are going to be held in a warehouse. So you also want to even have a software application in your warehouse.
To identify the thing.
Yes. And to issue the parts quicker, to store it the right way in the right condition. Remember, one of the 7R is condition, So you'd like the raw material to be in the right condition. You'd also like the finished goods to be in the right condition. So we use a lot of software application at many different stages of operation, so that in the end we can deliver high quality product. As I said, the 7 R's.
Yes.
The price, the quality.
Imagine using that software to control the temperature at which the things are kept.
Yes.
Based on the quality of the product that is, being transited.
As you talk about temperature, I remember I worked at Dennis and Geddes Red Stripe for a couple of years. And
that's why I wonder your fascination with Red Stripe. Yes. I like Red Stripe too, by the way. Yes. And you had what?
And we have an equipment in the factory known as a pasteurizer, and the purpose of the pasteurizer is to pasteurize the beer, so that the shelf life is about 7 months thereabout. And in that equipment we have specific temperature for each compartment. So you expose the Heineken or the Red Stripe at the infeed. Water is emitting on the Red Stripe. I see you're interested.
Very.
and the water that you're emitting on the Heineken at the infeed of that machine is at ambient temperature.
Yes.
The machine has about 10 compartments. By the time you reach in the middle of compartment 5 and 6, the temperature is very high. And then by the time the Heineken traveling on a conveyor belt reaches the output, the water you're jetting on the Heineken or Red Stripe is at ambient temperature. So you expose the beer to a cycle. Now you need technology to monitor that temperature and then make the necessary adjustment to either open a steam valve somewhere or trackle the steam valve so that you pasteurize the beer to the specification. And that's where technology comes in.
As you said that, I'm done with you. Let me see your belly, Dr. Chevers. Can you like the beer? Make us see. You can see it too?
No.
You've had enough. Can I thank you? It's been brilliant. Thank you.
Okay.
Dr. Delroy Chevers with practical knowledge, practical examples. I enjoyed that. Senior Lecturer of Logistics Supply Chain Management, CMU. We're up on a break. Thank you, listeners. We're back with you. We continue with you from the Jamaica Conference Center. We're talking all things maritime still, and I have my final interview for the day with Professor Andrew Spencer. He's a professor at the university, the Caribbean Maritime University. He's had over a decade years of experience in tourism, and I'm told he's the first ever UWI Mona Professor of Tourism. Look at that.
Take it a step further. First ever. Not just Mona. All of UWI. Yes. Tourism is a relatively new discipline. So, yeah.
So tell me how you use that experience or that professorship into what you do now at CMU.
Well, it's perfectly aligned because our students are exposed to shipping and the full gamut on both sides of things. So it's cargo, it's tankers, but it's also cruise shipping. So that cruise shipping element has come around very beautifully, and we also have degrees in cruise shipping and marine tourism at the CMU as well. So it's a very nicely crafted ecosystem.
So we've spoken to quite a number of your people who've represented very well. I was quite fascinated with a late discovery I made in the interview from Dr. Kahuina Miller, who is presenting a paper on extracting hydrogen, taking the H from H2O to use as a source of green energy. And I'd love to talk with him some more. So that's sort of a sneak peek into some of the interesting presentations which unfolded here today will continue in the afternoon and tomorrow. So looking at everything on the whole, you're my last interviewee. Some of the things I'm scheduled to speak to you about have probably already been covered. So where do you think you need to go with the listeners in this segment with you?
Yeah, I think that, so I became president at the Caribbean Maritime University exactly a year ago, 2 weeks away from, well, beyond a year ago. And it's very interesting to me that in the last few years we've had the conversations, but we've managed to solidify those conversations this year. So our partnerships are huge, and I think that that's what I'd like to talk a little bit about. I'm sure everybody has told you about our programs, our fascinating programs. You've heard about the research, and the industry conference is important to us because we thrive on partnerships. One of our big partnerships is with Carnival Cruise Lines. It even extends beyond that, I'll tell you, Emily. So we started with Carnival Cruise Lines. And just yesterday, the Carnival Corporation left us. So Carnival has 9 brands. We signed an MOU with Carnival Cruise Lines. The other 8 brands in the corporation became jealous. And so now it's a corporation partnership that we're looking at, which will see our students getting guaranteed spaces for sea time on the vessels, jobs at the end. In fact, I will tell you, Carnival met with some students on Monday, and they're offering jobs on the spot. So that's the kind of connection we have to industry. That's a very powerful partnership for us. And that's just on the cruise side. And, you know, Carnival says they want to be the line that has the first captain from CMU on their ship, but the Royal Caribbean says they want to beat them to it. And Disney Cruise Lines is scheduled to come meet us later on this year. And on the other side of things, we because we do the full gamut, we have a massive partnership with Kingston Freeport Terminal Limited, which also provides a number of apprenticeships, again, scholarships. They want to establish a center of excellence at the CMU. So our industrial relationships are very important to us. We have MOUs with the Caribbean Shipping Association, the Shipping Association of Jamaica, the French Maritime Academy, which is intended to see a number of students go off and explore the wonders of France, but also their maritime space. And they'll be our partners as we approach the International Maritime Organization. But we do all of this for one reason, you know, because we recognize the importance of our space. If you think about trade, imports, everything, and that's what I want everybody to understand. Everything you do, right? We're archipelagic, so we don't have land for anything to travel by trucks from other spaces that create. Everything that we get, from our fuel to consumer products that you like to use out of the supermarkets to, you know, varied things, they are a result of a maritime system that works, of a logistics spectrum that runs end to end seamlessly. And the same is true for the Jamaica Manufacturing and Export Association. We are their friends. For export, it's the same. So everything that we do from an economic standpoint, and as we grow, we must have a consideration for maritime at the heart of it.
I was thinking about it practically, as you said. Sometimes some thoughts, you know them, but they don't become vivid to you. So every single time we go in the supermarkets, for example, and we see imported grapes and strawberries fresh.
Absolutely.
It's because the shipping works, and it works speedily, so we get the perishables here sufficiently fresh.
Absolutely.
Wow.
And the CMU is at the heart of that because we're driving the technology that facilitates that. But we're also training the human capital to be up to speed, to be able to handle the system.
And tell me about the Carnival Cruise Line. So
yes,
make people understand this particular vessel, because I've seen it. I think I saw it in Oteria some times ago. It is so massive.
Yes.
And it's how many hundreds or thousands of people? I don't even know what the capacity is, but they go on this vessel and they're on it for roughly how long?
Well, so for Carnival Cruise Lines, they have 9 vessels that operate in the Caribbean. So it could be any of them, and they tend to go by something off the seas, something of.
Yes.
And so these vessels, many of them, so it's thousands of passengers and also thousands of crew members.
Absolutely.
And we tend not to tap into crew members enough. So they tend to come. What you want from your visitor is that, and they're called excursionists because they don't stay overnight. That's the difference between them and tourists, right? So I've gone into my tourism hat. We would love for them to spend the full 8 hours off the vessel. What we tend to find, and that's how we have to build out our attraction pool a little bit more, is that they tend to stay on average 5 hours off the ship, and that's where we get the dollar from their pocket. Because everything else they spend is spent on the vessel. So what we have now been able to do is to get Carnival to partner with us on a number of environmental initiatives, because they understand some of the damage that's done. They're partnering with us in terms of providing scholarships, as I said before, placements for students, and they're partnering with us too in terms of upgrading some of the things we need to make our training better. Newer vessels, because we're very applied as a university, so we have the best simulation machines in the region, but at the same time we also have boats, vessels. Carnival is partnering with us. They're about to give us lifeboats. They're about to. So those are the arrangements that we like to have, so that our students have the very best experience.
Right, and you say on the back end, when the students graduate, some of them are literally guaranteed spaces because of the demand for spaces out there.
I'll give you one interesting statistic. We have the highest absorption rate of any tertiary institution in the Caribbean. 80% of our students get jobs almost immediately upon graduation, some of them before. So yeah, that's why we are so partnership driven.
And you're seeking to have more partners coming on board
with
the
yes.
university.
Yes, so we have the University of Guyana as a partner. We have, I told you some others before, we have, we're just about to sign with a company out of the ocean, an aquarium out of Georgia. The Georgia Aquarium is also going to be a partner. We are signing partnerships as well with, we signed with the University of Guyana. Yeah. And that one is exciting for me because...
What does that mean?
So we're offering joint programs. So one of the programs we're going to be rolling out in January with them is one in liquefied petroleum operations. You see how nimble we are? Guyana's found oil and gas. CMU is present to ensure that they're able to deliver and to upskill their people. So there's also going to be one on chemical tanker operations and also a program in international shipping. So we're spreading our wings and making sure that we fully Caribbeanize our presence.
So you'll be able to send some of your
lecturers,
is it or students?
Yes, both. Correct.
To Guyana, and Guyana can send some of theirs for whatever practical experience they need.
And we also exchange of lecturers and instructors as well.
And then with the Kingston Freeport Terminal, what's the relationship like with you and Kingston Freeport Terminal?
So, very large port operator, a number of jobs that apply to our students directly. Again, jobs at the end of the rainbow is what's really important to us. But there is a lot of apprenticeship that takes place that also they facilitate. There's the research that we need to be able to give to them for their applied agenda, so that they can find solutions, so that they can earn revenues, and that's where we fit in. So it's the research, it's the consultancy, it's the students, it's the apprenticeships.
Brilliant. So just 1 year you're in this job, you say?
1 year and 2 weeks, exactly.
Doing well.
Thank you. We hope to do better.
Yes, because I was at Woolmer's when you had the simulation, and I had the benefit of seeing some of the things you're talking about, so I do know that you're not in the habit of exaggerating.
No, and we have much more, so I'm going to invite you out there so we can give you the full... There's a tour this afternoon, actually, for our conference delegates.
You have ship?
We have boats. Maybe Minister Nigel Clark will favor us with a ship one day.
A banana boat. Dr. Clark will provide carpet. Thank you. All the best to you and your team here for day 2 of the conference. Yes. Happy that you invited the hotline down for this broadcast.
Thank you so much. Happy to have you.
All right. Take good care, Professor Andrew Spencer. He's so young, listeners. I can't believe this man is a professor. So you have to keep publishing?
I do. In fact, so it was a body of work. It had to be over 20 journal articles plus books.
Wow.
To be able, because UWI's process is very...
okay.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Thank you so much. Take good care.
Yes.
Thank you to the broadcast engineer on location, Tony Holness, my marketing rep, Edwin Williams, who I'll never forget. Edwin, please say hi to your mother for me. My producer for today was Monique Whitfield. Anarchy Fuller was out, but she is feeling better, I'm sure. Looking forward to having her back tomorrow or such time. Take good care, listeners. Thank you to the organizers of this particular conference. Look forward to having your company again tomorrow. Have a great afternoon. I'm Emily Shields.